Skirt, skirt. Told you we always been ready. I don't need people that's petty, that weigh on me heavy while I'm being steady. I need a record with Felly. We get it bouncing like Betty's, I feel like I'm Nelly. Don't bring the beef like a deli. It's leaving I levy, no sleeping on me like I'm Freddy. Chris Breeze, how I do, hit him with the moves. Left hand step back, ballin' like I'm Coos. All faith, God's plan, you just gotta choose. God slaps, nothing left to prove. Y'all gotta leave me alone. Lately I've been in my zone. Told them no cap like I fitted, but lately the flows have been straight off the dome. I feel like I'm MVP, like my name Patty Mahomes. If it ain't about money, don't hit up my phone, cause lately I've been in my zone.
Hello, welcome to the Cowboys Show, hosted by Ben Carey and Nick Gronerad, combining expert human opinions with cutting-edge simulation models to help you arrive at the best picks each week. Inside Edge Community. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to today's stream. We are back. We, of course, missed the stream last Thursday because Ben and I were out of town. We were up in New York, New Jersey area at the SBC conference. So that was it was a lot of fun. Met a lot of great people out there. Met up with some guys who we had met before. Met a lot of new guys. Learned a lot. Made some nice connections. Had a great time. At the same time, though, happy to be back. Right, Ben?
Yep, ready to break down this slate of games today. I'm excited.
Yeah, so hope everyone else is doing well. Let's just hop into it. Oh yeah, teacher, see this kicking the field goals. Yeah, we could. There's a couple NFL teams I think that could utilize our skills.
And I know we're somewhat joking, but the Washington football team, if you can't kick a field goal from the 2-yard line to go up 2 scores, I mean, I'll take a decent 1 day or like whatever the 2-week contract is. I know NBA has like the 14-day contracts. I don't know what NFL has for that.
I think you can just sign people and cut them as you wish.
Yeah, I should just ask Adrian Peterson. He knows all about that.
Mm-hmm.
No, that sounded like I'm disrespecting him.
Yeah, he's never been that good.
No, yeah.
All right, so let's start from the top. We've got the Minnesota Vikings going on the road to Detroit. Lions, 7-point underdogs at home. And this is kind of a theme of this week. I remember last week we were talking about how all of the spreads were in that like 3 to 4.5 range. This week, it's quite the opposite. A lot of numbers that we're seeing in that 7 to 10 range, and even a little bit higher in some spots. So the Lions, 7-point dogs at home, over under set at 46.5. So Ben, why don't you start us off?
Man, the Vikings. I think the Vikings, for a lot of people, they put a sour taste in their mouths. And I mean, if you watch that game, I think Vikings cover that almost 60% of the time. Just the way it played out. Actually, the way it played out probably even more. But they didn't get it done. And I think a lot of people don't want to run back to the Vikings, but of course, we preach it. It's a week-to-week league. You can't have that emotional type of look on teams. You have to break down the numbers. And this is a tough one, though, because the lines, it just seems like they're so close. But at the same time, they're also pretty far, right?
Yeah, they are. So this is actually kind of interesting, though. So I have ATS records for this year. Do you want to guess? Oh, what is the Lions' record against the spread?
I bet
they played 11 games.
I think it's gonna be 6-5.
They are 7-4.
Yeah.
ATS this year, 5th best in the league. Top is actually Green Bay. They're 10-2. ATS.
Cowboys have to be up there too, right?
Yep, Cowboys are number 2. They are 9-3. Arizona 8-3. New England 8-4 are the other teams above Detroit.
Cowboys went on a, I think 8-0 run. Maybe it was 7-0, and then started to regress a little bit. Who's the worst?
The worst is the New York Jets.
Interesting.
They are 3-8 against the spread.
Don't tell me the Chiefs. We'll save that for when we
Okay.
break them down. But
I mean, there's not a whole lot of things it could be right now.
Yeah,
but yeah.
So I guess the lines are. Yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm going at, right? Like it's like they're still covering, but they also, I mean, they're bad. But now, are they 7 points worth in this one? I don't know. It's very close. It's a tight line for me.
It is. I think I agree with you. So worth noting also, Dalvin Cook, I believe at least, is out of this game. And that's a big piece for that Vikings offense. They've played without Cook many times over the last few years. He can't really seem to stay healthy for a full season. And Madison as the backup does definitely do a serviceable job. But still, I'm inclined to lean Detroit here against the spread. At the same time, though, I feel like every time I do anything involving Minnesota, whether I'm picking them or picking against them, I lose.
Yeah, I think we all have one of those teams, right, where you're like, is this just bad luck, or is there something here that I'm like impartial in the opposite way? Like you have something against them, but it's a subconscious type thing, right? But I'm gonna have to go with you. I think 7 at home. This is I say this quite a bit, but if it was 7.5, 6.5, I'm probably gonna lean to that side. 7.5 for the Lions, or 6.5 for the Vikes. But yeah, I like the Lions here at +7.
All right, sounds good to me. So next up, we've got Arizona and Chicago. The return of Kyler Murray and the return of DeAndre Hopkins. They are both confirmed in for this game. Remains to be seen, though, exactly how healthy they are. We've seen a similar quarterback in Russell Wilson come back and not look so hot. Although I'm expecting Kyler Murray to be a little bit better than Russ has been. Same story, though, as the last game. We have a home dog of more than a touchdown. Chicago is a 7.5 point underdog at home here. Over under coming in at 42. So I guess to cut to the chase, kind of like Chicago here.
If Justin Fields was in, no, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that Andy Dalton has kept this team close. Right? I mean, he's been a starter in the league for the last 10 years. I mean, is he a Super Bowl winning quality quarterback? No. But is he a serviceable guy? Yeah. The defense of the Bears is playing quite well. I think they're flying a little under the radar right now. But I think that getting this on the other side of 7 at 7.5 at home with the quarterback who's not going to lose you the game and a defense who's playing pretty well, I say give me the Bears plus 7.5 in this spot. What are your thoughts?
Man, it's a tough one. Cardinals, it's just tough to see like what they're gonna do, right? Like immediately with some of their players returning. And I think you might have mentioned this. Sorry if I'm repeating yourself, but Hopkins is in too. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so Hopkins is in. Man, this is another tough one for me. I guess I'm gonna have to go with the Bears and the points. I think they can keep it close. I think the defense can step it up. There is some weather in this one. I'm seeing 15-mile-per-hour winds, so it will be interesting to see if that can help the underdog here in this spot. We'll see. I mean, I don't know. I think both teams can keep the ball on the ground. Murray, right, and even James Conner has been like, I think he's leading the league in rushing touchdowns. Well, at least for a running back, right?
That would make sense.
Yeah,
I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but
I don't think the wind. This isn't a game where it's like a spread like passing attack coming into Soldier Field. So I don't think that the weather's going to impact one team or over the other. But yeah, I'll go with the Bears here.
Yeah, sounds good. Also, rushing touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor, after his crazy week, is now leading the league, but James Conner is second with 12.
Yeah, I forgot that he had 5 in one game, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I think he had four on the ground, 1 through the air.
Jeez, that's impressive.
Yeah, so we'll throw up Detroit. And I think the other thing is that the weather, if it helps keep this as a low-scoring game, I mean, that has to help the underdog with such a big margin.
And real quick, I wanted to touch on some of the props here. I was kind of looking at it, and you made some good points that it's important to look at Andy Dalton in his prior games and to see who he's throwing to. And I think one guy in particular, Cole Kmet, it seems like is one of his go-to guys. And I know it's a smaller sample size, right? 4 games. That Dalton's, maybe it's 3 he started in, and then he came in 1 when Fields got hurt. But it seems like Cole Kmet has had some pretty decent numbers with Dalton as the starter.
I think overall, Kmet has just been one of the more underrated tight ends in the league this year.
Yeah. It's almost like the passing threats when you're in Chicago. I don't want to say you go to die, but you're never going to get the love that maybe you deserve just because of the volume and how the team plays.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And also worth noting, Allen Robinson is out and Marquise Goodwin is out this week. So, I mean, that's number 1 and number 2, or maybe number 1 and number 3 receiver options. Or maybe Robinson's even number 2 this year because Mooney's been playing really well. But either way.
I might look at Cole Kmet again. The weather was like one thing where I'm like, but it's not like it's not 20 miles per hour. Cole Kmet, he's not running deep route, so to speak. So the wind's not going to impact that too much. And what was his number at? I know we were discussing it last night. It was like 30 something, I believe.
Yeah, I don't have it up in front of me, but let me pull it up real quick.
To the listeners, I just feel like there could be something there, some low hanging fruit.
Yeah, I mean, so Dalton's passing number is only 220, which means that with the lack of receiving options, there's going to be some stuff to go around. I'm showing Kmet on PointsBet right now at 30.5.
Wow.
I'm sure it depends book to book as well. So Snook says 34.5.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I mean 30.5 seems interesting, but
it does. All right, but you ready to move on to the next crazy home dog?
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting game.
Yeah, so game number 3 is the Antonio Brownless, for multiple reasons now, Tampa Bay Buccaneers going up against the literally anything good-less Atlanta Falcons. Falcons, 10.5-point dogs at home. Another 3 straight touchdown plus home dogs. Over-under set in this one at 50.5.
Dad, stay at home, Dad. Thanks for the follow. Man, the Falcons, I have to admit, Nick, is a team I was wrong about this year. I like them to go over 7.5 wins, and that's not looking good.
It actually might still be looking. They're 5-6.
I know.
Like they're terrible, but they're 5-6.
I guess the way I look at it is their schedule isn't the easiest, and I'm down on this team, I would say. But you know one thing, Nick, Cordell Patterson, I never thought I'd be saying this at any point in my life, that Cordell Patterson would be making this much of a difference to a team. But he does, man. Like, when he's out of the lineup, they really get, well, and especially with Ridley out, they get in a position where Pitts is kind of the guy, but teams can double team him, have a safety over the top, and then you're relying on guys like Gage and Hurst and what is it, Zacchaeus?
Zacchaeus.
Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus. I mean, no disrespect to those guys, but they're not starting on a lot of teams. So getting Patterson in there, it just keeps the defense on their toes, right? Like he's coming out of the backfield. He's lining up in the slot. He's running routes out of the backfield. But having said all that, we know that the Bucs defense up front is one of the best in football. And they're gonna rush Matt Ryan too. They're gonna send pressure. You're gonna see a lot of man-to-man coverage in this one, and I don't know. The Falcons, since they do have Patterson in there, I guess I lean them. But another thing that scares me about the Bucs is when they're up, like if let's say they're up a touchdown, right? They still do. Sorry, my dogs are fighting. They still do well, like in the, so to speak, like the garbage time.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're efficient. I've noticed that with Brady. Maybe it's Brady, and I would have to look back with the Patriots, but it's not like they're just running left, running right, punting. Like they're still trying to get the offense moving, and Brady takes it like very.
Yeah,
very
they don't get backdoor covered like some other teams do.
Yeah, so that's something to consider in this one. But
yeah,
reverse. I mean, if they're up 17, I guess Matt Ryan could get a last second backdoor, but I don't know. I'm not too confident on this one.
Yeah, so I think
this the side goes, but the under though I do feel a little more comfortable with.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I think so. The margin here for the model is actually a little bit bigger on this game than it was on the last two. But I do, like you do, feel a little bit less confident about the Falcons covering for the same reasons that you said. Mm-hmm. And like you said, I do like the under here as well. I think that even if the Bucs come out and put up 28, 30 points pretty fast, I just don't know that the Falcons are going to be able to actually like do anything on offense. So, I mean, last week they scored 21 points. But, I mean, it was against Jacksonville. So I don't know how much that counts for. They didn't really have, like, all that great of an offensive output. Mm-hmm. The 2 weeks before that, they scored 0 points and 3 points. So, I mean, I think somewhere in the middle. I think if the Falcons end up in, like, the 10 to 14 point range, maybe even 17, this under could be a no sweat.
Yeah,
type of deal.
Totally agree. So yeah, I would be fine with just the under.
Yeah, I am. I'm with it.
Atlanta, Georgia teams not having the best of luck right now. So
no.
Someone needs to pull up the stat of when Georgia loses outright. What do the Falcons do the next game?
It would be interesting if there was any kind of correlation.
Well, there was something with the Braves back in the day. It was like, well, I guess the Braves won the World Series, so hey. Yeah,
it's not all bad for Atlanta fans.
Yeah, I would take a Rockies World Series right now. This is a little off topic, Nick, but the Broncos won the Super Bowl about 4 years ago, and there was a whole thing about like, if your favorite pro sports team could win a Super Bowl, would you be okay with the next 20 years of them missing the playoffs?
Just that one team or every team in the city?
Just that one team. But that's the only guarantee. So, for example, Broncos win the Super Bowl, but then the next 20 years, they're basically the Lions. It's like, would you take that? And it's kind of a loaded question because I think most people say yes. But then when you think about it, I'm not sure.
I mean, so the one thing that I don't like about it, aside from the whole not missing the playoffs side, is that you know that they're going to miss the playoffs. So, like, what's the point of even watching?
Yeah, there's no upside. It's very... Maybe I phrased the question incorrectly.
Well, no, I still think it makes sense. But, I mean, I probably actually say no.
I would say no. Because I've seen, after post-Manning, like, when it gets down and it's just like, what are we doing out there? But, hey, speaking of Denver.
Yeah, speaking of Denver, I don't know why these games were out of order.
I know why. It's because they flexed this game.
Oh, that's right.
Because even on Circa, when they do their contest, it's the same deal.
That makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm. So
Okay.
do you want to cover it now, or
Let's cover it now. We're gonna go in order. We're not gonna break that. I was thinking about like moving them all around, but I didn't feel like retyping all the lines.
For sure.
So next up, we've got the Denver Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs. So now we still have a big favorite, but this time the favorite is at home and not on the road. The Chiefs, 9-point favorites as of right now, at home against the surging Denver Broncos. Over-under in this game is set at 46.5. And you know, Ben, I'm sure you knew this, but if Denver wins this game, they're going to be above Kansas City in the standings.
This became a huge game, and it's funny, they flexed this game before last week's games. So this was an anticipation of essentially getting this type of matchup. And there's a lot on the line, like you said. I mean, the winner of this is atop the AFC West. There's a lot going on in this game. There's a lot of storylines, a lot of like mini storylines. Andy Reid coming off the bye. I think that's like a big thing I'm hearing from a lot of people. I don't have that number here, but it's something above like 60%. Also, Denver traditionally in Kansas City hasn't played the best. But having said all that stuff's already baked into this number. Like -9, and it was at -10, kind of open there. That's a lot of points.
It is a lot of points
for a Denver team that shut down a pretty good offense last week in the Chargers. So -9 is a lot of points in this spot, and I think that's why you're seeing a lot of people who, you know, they've watched Denver and they feel confident enough in Teddy Bridgewater, and that's another thing. Teddy Bridgewater as a starting quarterback, as a dog, very good numbers against the spread. But for me, Nick, it's the defense of Denver, and I don't think Mahomes is going to be, I guess, the Mahomes of old. We have to say old now, because if we say old, he started off a little slow this season. But I think Denver and Fangio, if there's one thing Fangio does well, it's develop a good defensive scheme. And I don't think Kansas City is going to score 31 plus 35 in this one. Denver's going to keep it somewhat close, and I like Denver to cover.
Yeah, I'm with you. So I think there's this notion, or at least my perception is that there is this notion that Kansas City is kind of back now.
Mm-hmm.
They've won 4 in a row. They started out the season 3-4. They're up to 7-4 now. But I mean, what have they done? They beat the Giants at home by 3 points. They beat the Packers by 6. They blew out the Raiders, which is a good win, and then a 10-point win over the Cowboys.
Jordan Love.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the offense is still not really clicking. I think Mahomes has kind of cut down on the turnovers, but a little bit at least. But the sacrifice that's been made with that is just a less explosive, a less potent offense. So at the last 5 weeks, this team has scored 3, 20, 13, 41, and 19 points. That's one game over 20 points in the last 5 for Kansas City. And against some defenses that are not as good as the Broncos defense. I know it is a rivalry game. It is a game that has maybe some more importance than some of those other games. But I still think that getting this at 9 against a team that's struggling to break 20 points feels pretty good.
You make a great point, because those last 4 games, you can arguably say that one of them was like a really good performance. And I don't want to take too much away from the Cowboys game, but I mean, Elliott was hurt for like a few drives, and then you also had Lamb out. I think Cooper was out of that game. You had a lot of missing pieces. I think if Cowboys and Chiefs play at full strength healthy, it's a different game. So those last 4, I think the market has adjusted too much for the Chiefs. I mean, this sounds crazy, Nick. I think this number should be closer to 7.5. I get it. I'm a Broncos fan, but I think the Broncos right now have proven that since Von Miller was traded, it was a position where I could have seen them packing the bags and just looking forward to the offseason, but they decided that they weren't going to do that, and they're looking good. So 9 points, I'm taking it. I'm taking it.
Yeah, and I'm with you there as somebody who's not a Broncos fan. So Ben, I have a Broncos related question here.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do a little real quick draft recap. How are you feeling about the Patrick Surtain draft choice at this point in time, especially considering the quarterback opportunity cost?
It's so loaded, and this is a loaded question from the standpoint that it's always easy to play. Well, like for example, Josh Allen a few years back, like we could have been like, well, we should have drafted Josh Allen over Bradley Chubb, but it's tough because it's like, what did we know at that point in time? Like, what did George Patton, our GM, know? It's tough because you have Mac Jones, who's looking like a stud out there. Justin Fields, jury's still out. I don't think he's a bust yet. I mean, it's way too early to tell.
Definitely.
But Surtain's look great. He's coming. He's got the job done. So I think I'm feeling good. But I think the biggest thing for me is Javonte Williams. I mean, what a steal. I mean, in my opinion, Nick, he's the best running back of this class. Yeah, and I'm saying that over Najee Harris.
Yeah, we'll have to see how he can handle a full workload. So it is a little bit easier to perform a little bit more efficiently in the NFL with a reduced workload, unlike, say, a sport like the NBA, where your efficiency really does carry up and down, kind of regardless of how many minutes you get. So we'll have to see how Javonte Williams performs today, especially because Melvin Gordon is out. Javonte Williams is going to be the bell cow today for Denver. Very interested to see how he performs.
So I think Mike Boone's going to be the backup, and then they also brought up Crockett from the practice squad. I don't think Crockett sees much time. He's going to be more a special team emergency guy. But I'm expecting Williams to have 75% of the snaps in this one, which is a high number. But I think they're going to say, hey, man, if we can run the ball, we're going to run the ball with you. And this could be his breakout game, prime time. A lot of people are still like, yeah, we've heard of Javonte Williams, but this is a great spot.
If you haven't watched Javonte Williams, the very first game of the season, as somebody who didn't really know who he was, I watched him. I was like, oh, this guy's good. He's good. He's really good.
He reminds me of Joe Mixon, the way he breaks tackles, but he's a little faster than Mixon. But that's the comparison I kind of like to make. Like they're very physical runners. Man, he's fun to watch. I just hope he stays healthy, and I like what Denver's doing with Gordon and him, because some people in Denver are like, oh, they need to start him and give him all the snaps, and I'm like, no, that's where the injuries happen.
Yeah, so another situation like that. Derrick Henry, right? When Derrick Henry was drafted, he split carries for like his first 2 years with who was it? With DeMarco Murray, I think. Mm-hmm. And you keep him healthy, you let him get super comfortable, and then boom, you've got a absolute bell cow stud. All right, you ready to move on to the next game, which once again,
last thing about that.
Oh yeah,
sorry, real quick, and I lean under too, but it's a lean, just a small lean. But
I'm not gonna
throw that out there.
I'm not gonna throw the under up as a lean because I don't want to lean against the model.
Yeah, totally fine.
Although, you know what is interesting? Denver over-unders, 2 and 9. 2 overs, 9 unders.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
That is crazy.
All right, so next up, we have yet another game with a double-digit home underdog. This time it is the Indianapolis Colts going on the road to visit the Houston Texans. Texans 10-point dogs. Over-under in this one set at 45.5. So, the Colts. How about the Colts? They're starting to become the darling team, I think. I think that they're getting a lot more attention inside of at least the bubble that I'm in for being one of the best teams in the league now. I know that you've been on them all year. you stuck with them through the rough start. But they look really good.
They do, but they're 6-6 still. So they're still looking from the outside in, right, to get in the playoffs. I mean, they're in a good spot, right? You're 6-6. There's 17 games this year. So games like this, you have to win. Like if you drop a game like this, your season's pretty much done. So
yeah,
having that mindset, I do think this isn't going to be a spot where the Colts look ahead, so to speak. They're going to be ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, they can't look ahead. They have a bye next week.
I guess they could look ahead to the bye.
Yeah,
but
they're looking ahead to a vacation to Hawaii.
But that's actually a really good point because, well, they're not going to – they don't do that during the bye.
I was just kidding. That was a joke.
They're gonna go up the street to I'm not familiar with Indianapolis, unfortunately, but they do have the Patriots. But the bye, I think, you don't do any sort of look ahead past the bye. That's kind of what we're getting at. So yeah, they're gonna be ready to go. They have to win this game. They have the Patriots coming up. Actually, they have a tough schedule. They have to play
Patriots, Cardinals, Raiders, Jaguars.
Yeah. So
this.
This is a game they have to win. They have to come out strong. 10's a lot, though. 10 is a lot. Tyrod Taylor. I like this to be a closer game, but I don't know if I like it as close as what the model says. But the model's like the Texans.
Yeah, the model has been, for whatever
year,
reason, high on the Texans.
Yeah. So, model aside, Nick, what would you say?
I kind of just I think that 10 is just a couple points too much. Like you, I don't think it's going to be as close as the model says it's going to be. But at the same time, I mean, I just think that 10 is too many points.
And at a certain point, like I know we say turnovers and sometimes fumbles for the most part are random, right? Like we've talked about this, but man, Carson Wentz and his turnovers, like it's not just a one-time a game thing. Like it's becoming kind of consistent. And when they have a bunch of turnovers, I mean, of course, turnovers are like a big factor to a team covering or even winning, but I don't want to say we should count on Wentz having the turnover, but you kind of get what I'm saying here with Wentz and how his play is kind of affecting the game. I don't know. It's interesting to talk about because I like the Colts a lot, but man, Wentz week after week, he's had those issues.
Mm-hmm. So here's another interesting thing. So in the 5 games that Tyrod Taylor has started for the Texans this year, they've covered 10 points all 5 times. I guess they pushed once in the game that he left against Cleveland. But I mean, they're 2-3 just straight up in games that he starts, and they have a 10-point loss and 2 single-digit losses. So I think at home, getting 10, yeah, like Larry says, do you think they're going to stop Jonathan Taylor? I mean, kind of, yeah, relatively speaking. I mean, I don't think he's going to have 150 yards and 5 touchdowns. But I think they'll be able to do enough.
Brandon Cooks is in, it looks like, or at least it says expected to play. I think that's big. They need Cooks. David Johnson's out. I think that's notable. But Rex Burkhead, I guess he's the starter.
Yeah,
right?
It's not like David Johnson is prime Cardinals David Johnson, right? He's not a game changer.
Yeah.
So I'm
Rex Burkhead.
Rex Burkhead. Start. Yeah, University of Nebraska legend.
Yep.
So I'm inclined to put Houston up as a leaner.
I'll put Houston. I think this is the first time I've liked Houston. Or sorry, the first time I've gone against picking the Colts as a lean. So take that however you want.
So next up, we've got the Philadelphia Mustaches going up against the New York Jets. Gardner Minshew, Slayer of Moms.
Here we go.
Starting
Minshew
at quarterback
mania
for the Eagles today. Jets 5.5-point dogs at home. I mean, this is literally the first game that we've talked about where the spread is less than 7. Although still, we do have a 5.5-point dog at home going up against a backup quarterback. And I think that this was at 7 before Minshew was announced as a starter.
It was. It was right around 7, dropped to 6.5 just before any of the news, and then, of course, with the injury to Hurts.
Total on this one's at 44. So you know what? It was actually kind of funny. So I was able to rerun this morning before the game. So the sims that we have are reflective of the fact that Gardner Minshew is starting for the Eagles. It actually liked the Eagles a little bit more with Minshew in at quarterback as opposed to what it did with Jalen Hurts. It was about a 0.4 of a point swing for the Eagles. Thought that was kind of interesting.
Look, Minshew's not bad.
No, I mean Minshew, yeah, hasn't played a whole lot recently. He's never really been on anything resembling a good team, but he's put up numbers. And Jalen Hurts has been inconsistent.
One thing about Minshew that I've told people is on third downs, I don't have the number in front of me, but he creates third down conversions. Like he is kind of an artist in that retrospect. Like he figures out how to just get a first down, keep the drive going. He also resembles kind of like a Fitzpatrick type of player where he can really win you a game, but he can also lose you a game. So there's a lot of variance with this guy. Man, 5 and I'm indifferent on this one, Nick.
Yeah, I think this is a fade spot for me.
Yeah, is Corey Davis in?
Let me go and check. I think Corey Davis is in. Yeah, Corey Davis is in. So that's good. I think Ben just shut his dogs out of his room.
Yeah, they were being too loud. Sorry, I missed about Corey Davis.
Yeah, Corey Davis is playing.
Okay. Michael Carter.
Michael Carter is playing. Inactives on like skill position, LaMichael P. Ryan and Trayvon Wesco. So, I think this is a fade.
Yeah, slight lean though. If you put a gun to my head, I would say Jets.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, Nick, I think if you are looking to bet the Jets for any reason, I think you just take the money line. I don't even think you play around with the spread. I say, with what I mentioned about Minshew, I think you just go with the home team, with the healthier team. Jets, what is it, plus? I'm going to guess 160.
Money line.
Actually, it's probably closer to 200, huh?
For the Jets is 175 on PointsBet. So
I like that.
Yeah, somewhere in like the 170 to 180 range. Lord, we are working our way there. So next up, we've got the first game with a spread of 3 or less. The LA Chargers and the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals at home are 3-point favorites, only the second home favorite we've seen, and only the fourth one of only 5 across today's 12 games. Kind of crazy that there are 7 home dogs. So in addition to Cincinnati being favored by 3, the over-under in this game is set at 50. So Ben, I just want to ask you, what are your feelings about this Chargers team right now? They were kind of you had your 1A, your 1B with the Colts and the Chargers this year. And they've taken kind of opposite trajectories. The Colts started out a little rough because of some injuries and then have really picked it up over the last few weeks. The Chargers have been kind of the opposite. They were maybe the darling of the league. Everyone was like, oh, Herbert is legit. Mm-hmm. And the last couple of weeks, they've kind of slacked off. So where do you think they're at?
Well, I think the market is down on this team, but they're still sitting at 6-5. So it's not like they're under 500, but you do make the point. They were, I think, 4-1, 4-2, maybe 5-3, something like that. So they have.
Yeah, they were 4-1 at one point.
Yeah, 4-1, and in this division, the AFC West, 6-5. I mean, you're basically.
Hey, you're a game out of first and tied for last.
Yeah, I think with the tiebreaker, it's weird. They're actually right now they're tied. They're second, but it's crazy.
There's like, three teams at 6-5.
Yeah, but having said all that, I still like the Chargers as a team. I think the biggest concern for me in this one is if Mixon has a lot of success running the ball against this defense. That's the biggest concern for me in this one. But if they can stop that or maybe just even limit it, I have enough faith in the Chargers offense. I think this is a good value spot for the Chargers, to be completely honest. And I know we've mentioned this a few times with their road and away or road and home type of splits and kind of like what happens at home because they don't really have a home field advantage. And then on the road, I think people almost value that they have had an advantage at home, which they haven't. And then
they're 4-2 on the road this year. The Chargers are.
And I don't think that's a coincidence.
Oh, hold on. No, I was looking at the Bengals.
Oh,
wait a second. They are 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, 3-1, 3-2 at home this year.
3-2. Yeah.
No, wait. So no, hold on. 3-2 at home, which means 3-3 on the road.
Okay, 3-3.
No, hold on. They're 3-2 on the road.
3-2.
I forgot what the @ sign meant. I was like, wait. Yeah, that means they're on the road. Yeah, they beat Washington on the road, beat Kansas City on the road, beat Philly on the road, lost on the road to Baltimore and Denver.
Gotcha. Okay. But I like the spot for him. I do.
Yeah.
+3.
I agree. So the Bengals are coming off 2 big wins. They beat the Raiders by 19, beat the Steelers by 31 the last 2 weeks. So I think not only is the market a little bit low on the Chargers, I think it's a little high on the Bengals. Mm-hmm. I do think the Bengals are a good team, but they're not that good. They're not like beating potential playoff teams by 30 points good. Mm-hmm. So earlier this year, they also had a set of back-to-back blowout wins. They beat the Lions by 23, and then they beat the Ravens by 24. Do you know what they did the next week? They lost to the Jets.
Wow.
So I think the Bengals are playing well, but I think the value spot here is still on the Chargers. That's my that's my opinion.
And the team that probably needs a win more. I know both teams want to win.
Both teams. There's the AFC North is the same as the AFC West. It's not like the Chargers need it any more or less than the Bengals do.
I guess they're 7-4.
Yeah, I mean 7-4, sitting with an 8-3, a 6-6, and a 5-5.
All right, we'll say that
they're
cancels
all
out. They're
all 500 or better.
It's not like they're like 8-3, sitting up top and have a cushion. Yeah, both teams do need to win. That's a fair point.
Yeah, but still, I like the Chargers here.
Yeah, and then T. Cherry likes that Mixon under 93.5. It's a high number. Definitely a high number.
It is. It's also a not all that great of a rusty.
Mm-hmm. But if they get a lead, the Chargers do, it's probably going to be looking good. But if they get in the position where they're up, I mean, Mixon could get 10 carries in the fourth quarter. That always scares me.
No, I think any kind of high rushing prop like that is very game dependent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jared likes the over.
Mm-hmm. I could see it. I mean, the model has us going under, but I mean, the model has a lot of things going under right now.
It's close. It's not too far off.
So next up, we've got the New York Giants and the Miami Dolphins. Mike Glennon, starting quarterback today for the Giants. Good old Mike Glennon. Gotta be. I feel like the Mike Glennon career trajectory has got to be nice. Like, you get to start for a while and then get a cushy backup job in many spots all across the league. Get overpaid for a while. Gotta be nice.
Do you know how tall he is?
He's what, like 6'7" or something?
Yeah, that's crazy. He's got to be the tallest quarterback. Well, current.
Maybe. There's a guy. I was watching the JMU Southeastern Louisiana game yesterday. There's a Southeastern Louisiana's quarterback is like a mid-round draft prospect who's also 6'7".
Oh, the scouts love a tall quarterback. I tell you what.
Mm-hmm. That they do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, how big of an impact do you think that Mike Glennon coming into this game is going to have on the Giants? Could it even be good for them?
I think it could be. I think there's some upside. As much as we've talked highly about Daniel Jones, I still think that there's always that upside for a guy who's had experience coming in and putting up some decent numbers. I don't know what that is going to be, but I do think that with Saquon, I think this is the healthiest Saquon's been all year.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really important for this offense. I almost want to say that having Saquon healthy and Glennon is better than having Saquon banged up and a healthy Daniel Jones, to be honest.
I think that Saquon is the key piece in this offense. I mean, I think earlier in the season, Daniel Jones was looking quite good with a healthy Saquon. Mm-hmm. And then I don't think it's a coincidence that when Saquon was banged up, that was really when Daniel Jones kind of fell off a cliff.
Yeah. I mean, the offense, it was built around Saquon.
Mm-hmm.
So when he's out, it changes everything, and sounds like he's going to be healthy.
Yeah.
I guess I like the Giants to cover.
Yeah,
I guess.
I mean, the model has the Giants winning outright. The model had Giants winning outright as a 4-point dog last week, and they did.
Yeah, Tony's out.
Mm-hmm. I think that's fine. He was out last week too.
So we have Galladay. Is it? I always get Slayton and Shepard confused.
I think
one's out, one's in.
I think Slayton is healthy. Shepard is out.
Okay. And Galladay, he needs to have a breakout game. We've been waiting.
Mm-hmm. But I think it could be today.
Mm-hmm.
So I think on this one, I'm kind of just inclined to side with everything the model has. So that's the Giants to cover,
mm-hmm.
and the over.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, and I think both those are correlated. I think that if this game goes over, I think the Giants cover. I do.
Yeah, I mean, and I think also we have to give some credit to Miami's offense. They've been, I mean, Tua's looked pretty good the last few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Just effectively moving the ball. I also think that this is a game where we could see like a defensive touchdown from either side. And if that's the case, I'm feeling really good about the over.
I think Miami has one of the better special teams too.
Mm-hmm. We've got screwed on some unders the last couple of weeks because of defensive touchdowns. So let's on our probably only overlean of the day,
mm-hmm.
let's go ahead and grab a defensive touchdown to help us out there. That would be nice.
That would be nice. Also, Nick, one last thing I want to throw out there, and why I think the Dolphins, and actually Dolphins are the most popular play this year, or not this year, this week.
But so the Giants are a lock, is what we're saying.
Maybe this year too, because it's up to 92% of the money is on the Dolphins, and I think a big reason why is because Glennon was 0-5 with the Jags in 2020. 20 as a starter. So I think a lot of people see that and they're just like, Glennon's trash. Dolphins, they're trending upwards. Dolphins are at home. This is an easy play. But the Jags last year, that was more about them as a team, I think, than Glennon. I'm not saying Glennon's a superstar, but I just don't be surprised if Glennon has a decent game today.
Yeah. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you're ready for the next one.
Yep.
So we've got the Washington football team going on the road to Las Vegas, playing the Raiders. Only spread of the week, or of the day, below 3 points. Raiders are 1.5 point favorites at home, over under set at 48. So Washington has been looking pretty good. Taylor Heineke getting a lot of love now.
Is he a backup anymore, or what's going on?
I think Taylor Heineke, I think it deserves to start next year for Washington at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring in some sort of competition, but I think he definitely deserves to start. He's been good. There's no two ways about that. So there's an injury on Washington that I think is, or at least I haven't seen it get talked about a whole lot, but I do think it's pretty important. And that's J.D. McKissic is out for Washington. Washington's done a really good job kind of utilizing the strengths of Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissic. They're both good enough runners and good enough receivers that there's always the threat of either type of play when each back is out there. And I think that's a little unique as far as running back duos are concerned. I mean, I think maybe Dallas is another good example of that, where they have two guys who are both capable rushers and receivers out of the backfield, and it really does keep a defense on their toes. So I think that with Gibson being the only guy today, that is maybe a little bit bigger of a hit for Washington than a backup running back injury would typically be.
That's a really good point. And I don't think it's as simple as like Gibson just taking over the workload, so to speak, because it doesn't really work like that. With Denver, right? Gordon and Javonte Williams are kind of mirror images of each other. But with McKissic and Gibson, no, it's not the case.
Yeah, so I think that, long story short, potentially that is not so good for Washington. There's a lot of skill position snaps they're going to have to replace. On the Raiders side, or did you have something?
Oh, yeah, to add in? I was about to get to the Raiders. So
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
So the Raiders are this is probably one of the best scheduling spots of the day today. They're coming off a Thanksgiving Day game, so they've had extra time, and the Washington football team coming off a Monday night game. So if you break it down, they essentially get 4 extra days to prepare for this one. So I think that's something to consider, and I just don't know how much of that is actually being accounted for with a -1.5. To be frank, Nick.
Yeah, so I'm thinking if these two teams on the same rest and a neutral field, what does the spread look like?
Let's see here. So what's this?
Probably Washington -2.5, maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say 2.5 on a neutral.
Yeah, or maybe more like 2. Especially with how hot they've been and the Raiders being on a 3-game losing streak, it might be up in that range.
Yeah, I would say 2.5. 2.5, yeah.
So thinking about it from that perspective, we are kind of actually getting a point for the Raiders here. Because if you then take that and subtract away the home field advantage, you get down to a half. Although then again, numbers between +1 and -1 aren't numbers a game can end on. So those don't really count.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, there's a lot going on here. It's a tough one to kind of break down in that sense, but I think if the model likes Las Vegas and the more objective type of stuff likes Las Vegas, I got to go with them too.
Yeah, I think it's a spot where they're a little undervalued, and a nice bounce back spot. You got two teams that I think talent wise pretty equal. One of them's on a little winning streak. One of them's on a little losing streak. I'll take the value on the home team. That's a little cold, but the model likes to win.
Mm-hmm. And Lord's pumped. He's been waiting for us to say that.
I hope that was satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah, model also does technically like the over, but not gonna throw that up as a lean.
Mm-hmm. And Deshaun Jackson finally running into the end zone or towards the end zone, which is nice. But I think that was big for them because Ruggs, with him out, they didn't really have that guy who could stretch the field a little bit. And I think it's also helped Waller too open up and start to get targets because I think teams were kind of clamping down on Waller and kind of opens up the offense a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Also, Waller's out, by the way.
Okay, well, why did I miss that? That's interesting. What is his injury?
I don't know. He has a back injury.
Gotcha. So I guess that kind of would make sense from the line perspective, but I also don't think Waller's worth anything over a point.
No, I don't think so either. And I do think that Foster Moreau is actually a pretty capable tight end, a guy to step into that role.
For sure.
So next up, we got 3 games left, about 20 minutes to get through them, so I think we're looking good on time. We've got the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are 4-point dogs at home, over-under set at 44. Looks like 4 is the theme of this game.
Mm-hmm. How are you feeling, Nick, as a Ravens fan?
So as a Ravens fan, I mean, all I'm expecting is a close game.
Mm-hmm.
I've been saying it all year. The Ravens play up and down to the level of their competition. They'll beat good teams in close games, and they'll beat bad teams in close games, and then they'll like occasionally blow a team out or get blown out, but those are rare. Also, Ravens and Steelers is one of the biggest rivalries in the league. These are always hard-fought, close games, no matter how good or bad the actual teams are. The only NFL game that I've been to was a Ravens-Steelers game a few years ago. It was the year that the Ravens had... I say the year the Ravens had a ton of injuries on offense. Not that this year isn't another year like that.
Yeah, right.
But they had Ryan Mallett starting at quarterback for them in that game.
Ugh.
And hosting Pittsburgh, who needed a win to clinch a playoff spot, and the Ravens beat them. So, moral of the story, these are always close games.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not expecting any kind of blowout, especially considering the Ravens' propensity for drama, shall we say.
Mm-hmm.
The model actually has the Steelers winning this game by about 1/4 point. I will say that last week, the model also had the Browns beating the Ravens as a 3-point dog, and I was like, no, I like the Ravens here still, and the Ravens did end up winning and covering. I'm a little less confident this week, again, just because it's the Steelers and these are always close games.
Mm-hmm.
So model should say that Steelers are the way to go, although I kind of want to just fade it.
So I'm expecting the Steelers to play like I expected them to last week. But it does scare me a little bit because Big Ben, I think whether it's his health or just his play, it's fallen, right? So that's always scary when your quarterback isn't at least 100%, whether that's, again, health or play, whatever it may be. But I like the spot for the Steelers, Nick. I do. They're at home. They're getting 4. That would be my lean. I think Steelers win this, Nick. Sorry to tell you as a Ravens fan.
Okay, so I will. I'll acquiesce here. We can put the Steelers up as the lean in this one.
Yeah. Just seems like a game that Baltimore could lose.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a 3-point game. So,
hey, I'm fine with Baltimore winning by 3. Then everyone's happy.
yeah, I mean, what would make me the happiest is Baltimore winning by 40. but
Yeah.
What makes me happy and what's going to actually happen are very often different things.
Yeah, that's how it goes sometimes.
Especially in the world of sports. That's how it goes for most people. So, second to last game, we've got the Jacksonville Jaguars and the LA Rams. Rams, biggest favorite of the day at 13. Over-under in this game set at 48. So I think the really important thing here is how healthy is Matthew Stafford? And I don't have a good answer to that question. So the Rams started out 7-1. I think at one point they were the number one team in the entire league, record-wise. But since then, they've lost 3 straight games, and none of them have been particularly close. They lost a 12-point game to Tennessee. They lost a 21-point game to San Francisco, and they lost an 8-point game to Green Bay. So Jacksonville is a lot worse than all of those teams, to say the least. But 13 is a lot of points to cover, especially if Stafford is a little banged up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nick, do you remember what I told you on stream and told everyone listening about 3 weeks ago when OBJ was making his first game?
Remind us.
I said if they lose, they can kind of blame this on, hey, we have moving pieces. Von Miller's just coming in his first game. But at some point, I don't know how long is that type of excuse, especially when the lack of performance is actually coming from the quarterback more than anything and why they're losing games. But it really does come down to his health, because if Stafford is healthy, if we could look into a crystal ball and I could see he's 100%, I would probably go with the Rams in this one. But I just don't think that's the case. He's not.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that with a healthy Matthew Stafford, the model likes the Rams a lot more than it does, because I mean it's seen his poor play in the last few weeks and is adjusting accordingly. I mean, there's a reason that the model only has the Rams winning this game by 4 points, and that's just because Stafford's been bad.
Yeah,
so
I think on offense, Nick, really the only guy who's been playing well consistently is Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp is a crazy player.
But Higbee, he had, I think, 2 drops last game. Van Jefferson, I think he's talented, but he's not Robert Woods. And OBJ, I mean, what is he still? We don't know. He's still learning the playbook.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of question marks still with the Rams, and I think the upside for them to win a Super Bowl is still high if they can figure out everything, because they have the pieces, right? But time will tell.
Yeah.
It's a tough division too, Nick. It's
a
tough division.
It is. It's an extremely tough division. I mean, you got San Francisco and Arizona, and they're both playing well. Mm-hmm. And Arizona getting Kyler Murray back. I mean, and Seattle is the record is bad, but it's kind of the same deal as with Stafford, right? If Russell Wilson suddenly proves that he's healthy, that team was a real threat.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the Rams are concerned, I think at least in the short term, until Matthew Stafford proves that he's recovered from these injuries that have been plaguing him for weeks, I have to kind of err on the side of he's not 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 13 points is a lot.
Yeah, and with this being 13 against anybody in the league, I think at 13, I take the other team.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
so,
I'm fine if we want to put a lean down for the Rams. Or sorry,
it's like what?
After saying all that,
yeah,
no, for the Jags.
Yeah. So Ben, Jer has a question for you. Need a quick fantasy football pick. Half-point PPR. Jerry Jeudy or Dave Montgomery?
I'm actually going to lean with Montgomery. The weather, I think, kind of factors into that because I think they are going to try to pound the ball with him. Nick, do you have the numbers of David Montgomery's stats when Dalton's playing? Because that's what I would kind of look at. My guess is that they would be up there.
Yeah.
From a volume perspective, but
I can find this. Let me look at that after the
yeah. And the last thing with Jeudy, the problem with Jeudy is talent's there, but now they have Tim Patrick playing well. They have Sutton. They have Fant. So they have a lot of targets. He's not just like the number one. So
yeah, and I guess I have it up now. So in the games with Dalton, Montgomery, week 1, 108 on the ground and a touchdown, 10 through the air. Week 2, which is the week that Dalton got hurt, 61 on the ground, 3 catches for 18 yards. And then last week, 46 yards on the ground, 3 catches for 28 yards. So definitely getting some more action through the air, which is nice in PPR. And the rushing volume has been there as well, 16 plus carries. And then it's just a matter of being effective with it. But I think you can't not start a running back who's in line for that kind of volume.
Yeah, I agree.
So last game is the game, I guess, that got deflexed.
No, actually, well, was it? I think you're right, actually.
Oh, I mean, it's the one at the end, so.
I think you're right because the Seahawks. Ugh.
Yeah, Seahawks are a little ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, when I said the NFC West is a good division, I definitely weren't speaking to the Seahawks there.
Yeah, so Seahawks at home are 3-point underdogs to the San Francisco 49ers. Over-under in this game is set at 45. So like we were just talking about with Matthew Stafford, and like we just alluded to in talking about the division, I think this really does come down to the health of Russell Wilson. San Francisco's been playing really well. Seattle's been playing games. I think that's not the nicest thing I can say about them. But it just... Russell Wilson looks a little scared in the pocket. I think that's the word that I'd use. He's... when there's pressure on him... So the injury that he's recovering from is... I guess they call it like mallet finger. So he was throwing the ball, and he ran into Aaron Donald in his throwing motion, and it jammed and broke a finger on his throwing hand. So that's the injury that Russell Wilson is recovering from. And when there's pressure on him, I think he looks a little scared to throw and initiate that same kind of contact on his hand. So I do think that... I mean, I'm assuming at least that the injury itself is kind of more or less healed. Otherwise, he wouldn't be playing. I mean, you can't really grip the ball with a broken finger on your throwing hand. Mm-hmm. And I do kind of think that the confidence will just come back as he plays. So I'm a little bit more bullish, I'll say, on Russell Wilson than Matthew Stafford, just comparing the two at this point. As far as who's going to be back, because I think that Wilson is more of a confidence thing. Stafford, it's like he's still hurt thing. Mm-hmm. That being said, I don't know if I can be confident at all actually backing Seattle in this spot,
especially after last week, right? Like,
well, I mean, so they were a failed 2-point conversion away from tying that game up.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It just was.
So my impression was on that last drive that Seattle had, Russ was kind of like, oh shit, I just have to go out there and do this.
Yeah.
And he looked good. Mm-hmm. Which on that last drive.
I think we are on the same page here because they're close. It's not like they're getting blown out, but the offense has looked weird. I don't really know why it's not clicking, but I also think it has something to do with Chris Carson being out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know we say running backs a lot of times aren't worth as much, but they've had a lot of guys come in and out, and I just think like DJ Dallas, which actually he is questionable. And Chris Carson's out for the year with a neck injury. So
yeah, they have Adrian Peterson on the active roster today.
I mean, he might start, Nick, because DJ Dallas is questionable, I think.
Yeah, I think ultimately it just comes down to Russell Wilson.
Yeah, it does. That's the biggest reason why they haven't been winning games, and I'm staying away from this one.
Yeah, I think this is a very easy fade spot. I think this could be an amazing live bet game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if Russell Wilson looks good, like he doesn't look scared and timid, and he's hitting throws on the first drive or two, Seattle could be a good look. And if he looks scared, San Francisco could be a smash spot as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's kind of my take. And I think without knowing that, it's hard to really back either side, and also hard to back a total on the game.
Yeah, and back to the running backs real quick.
Yeah.
They have Penny, Homer, Collins, Dallas, but they're all questionable.
Mm-hmm.
So
like,
you got to assume that maybe one's healthy, but
yeah, it'll just be like who looks the best in warm-ups or whatever.
We need Wilson just to stay healthy the rest of the year, so then the Broncos can pick him up in the offseason, and that would be fantastic.
Would it?
Yeah.
Probably would. That'd probably be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I guess that wraps up the game-by-game discussion. If anybody's got any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the chat. We do have a couple minutes. But Ben, what is your favorite bet on today's games?
Speaking of Homer, I'm going to have to go with the Broncos +9. Well, I just want to make sure there's not a 9.5 anywhere.
Yeah, it was 9.5 before. I just took the Vegas Insider consensus number.
Yeah.
So
I know it's not 10.
Oh, it's 8.5 everywhere right now.
Ooh. Okay, I'll still take it. I'll take 8.5.
All right. And for my favorite bet today, I'm going to go ahead and take the over. Let me make sure this is still at the right number. Yeah, over 40 points in the Giants and Dolphins game. I just think that, this number dropped from 43.5 down to 40. I don't think that Daniel Jones being out should have caused it to drop at all. I think that 43.5 and or 44 is where the model sees it and where I think that it should be. There's just so many little opportunities for points in this game. You have to have everything right to go under a number this low. So I like the over in that game.
Mm-hmm. I like it too. Glennon, again, 0-5 last year with the Jags, but that had more to do with who was on the team.
Yeah, you don't need to, like, one of the teams is going to lose.
Yeah,
right?
He can lose and it still goes over.
Mm-hmm. We could just have a 24-17.
Yep.
Or a 24-20.
Or 40
41-40.
0.
39 nothing. Bad beat.
Those are the crazy college games sometimes where it's like over 58 and it's like 50 to 6.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, when you need one team to score all of the points.
Yeah. You're like, hey, Team A had 50. You got to be feeling pretty good about yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Team B has 60 or 6, and it's under.
All right. So I believe that wraps up the stream for today. Thank you all.
When do the Ravens play?
When do the Ravens play? I think the Ravens play in the afternoon. They're in the afternoon. Broncos are the late game.
Yeah.
Ravens are afternoon.
Okay.
So yeah, let's go make sure we all have our bets in, and let's go watch some football. Thank y'all as always for being here. Appreciate that as always. We'll be back Monday, tomorrow, to try and figure out what the fuck is going on with prop wise in that snowy, blizzardy Bills and Patriots game. I didn't put props up for that game on the dashboard. I'm not going to. It's such an extreme event that I don't think that any kind of model can really do that properly. So that my responsible statistician in me says no model. So I think we're gonna go all on intuition there, Ben.
What is the weather forecast? Like
last I looked, which was a couple days ago, was like 35-mile-an-hour winds and snow, and like 15 degrees or something.
Which Bills Mafia is probably like, that's drinking weather.
Yeah. I mean, they say that completely regardless of the weather.
Exactly. Those fans are different, man. I've met a few. It's almost like if you're not a Bills Mafia type of personality, you either become a fan of another team or you become Bills Mafia. It's kind of a cult.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, but they're good. They're good. I like the Bills Mafia because they donate a lot of money to charity.
Yeah,
like
and they're not like chirpers. Like they're not like, we're better than you. They will say they're better at breaking tables and doing backflips on tables than you, but yeah, I like them too.
Yeah.
All right. I need to fire up this Cole Kmet bet because I think I'm sold on that over, and I think I got everything else in. And fantasy-wise, get your lineups straight because.
By the way, Ben,
so
Boston Scott is in, so you should not start getting.
Oh! I gotta get that out. Gotta get that.
Yep. All right.
All right.
It's
2
time.
minutes. All right. Gotta go.
Yep. See you next time.
Bye-bye.